Welcome to Pond Lehocky, the largest workers' compensation law firm in Pennsylvania. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. Even better, Pond Lehocky doesn't charge a dime until you win. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
And welcome in, everyone, to this edition of the Labor and Energy Show with JDoc and Krausey. Good to be here as the year 2024, JDoc, winds down and comes to pretty much a screeching halt. We're in the holiday season. We've reached the middle of December, but that doesn't stop the progress of the Labor and Energy Show. We've got a great show, a great lineup, and a great, fantastic guest to kick us off in our opening segment.
Yeah, and so, Joe, today is a special show, no question about it. And I'm ecstatic to bring on, and it's kind of like a landmark show, Dave Callahan, President, Marcellus Shale Coalition, who's been with the Labor and Energy Alliance from the very beginning. He's retiring on New Year, so this is his final show. We got a lot to talk about. We got a consequential show. We're going to be talking about the setback situation in Pennsylvania. And of course, we'll explain what that is. And of course, we're going to talk a little LNG, liquid natural gas. But also, we have Jim Welty coming on, who's going to be replacing Dave as the president. Dave's handing the baton off. And so it's a really kind of an emotional show for me because Dave Callahan has been he was one of the original members. And so it's his final show, and Jim's final show as president of the Marcellus Shale Coalition, and Jim Welty's first show of many. And we have a little surprise that's going to happen in the second part of the show, which I'm ecstatic about. So it's going to be a great show.
No doubt about it. I'll take my 35 seconds and just reminisce for a minute about Dave Callahan. The first time we met Dave was up at Steamfitters Local 420 with Jim Snell. We had an opportunity to interview and bring him on to the program and learn a little bit about Marcellus Shale and what he has done. So cheers and a big shout out to Dave Callahan, fitting that he wraps us up for the year 2024 on the Labor and Energy Show. I do want to remind the listening audience, you can download or go to Apple or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, search the Labor and Energy Show, and our full catalog and library of all of our programs, JDoc, from the first 3 years of the Labor and Energy Show are there and visible, and people continue to download, listen, and get educated on the program. We'll get to a commercial break. This is the Labor and Energy Show with JDoc and Krausey, back with our special guest after this.
The best way to describe Anthony, David, and Jan are that they're my brothers. I met Anthony at LA Fitness because I noticed that he had a Teamster's bag and his dad was a Teamster leader.
I'm a third generation son of labor. My grandmother worked in a factory. My mother and father were both Teamster members. I don't think there's a trade that I don't have a family member in.
What's so big for me coming from a union background is what affects one member affects the entire membership.
A lot of people can relate to the issues that individuals deal with. We pride ourselves on empathy.
The big value that's always instilled in you if you grow up in a union household is the importance of brotherhood. People that lean on each other, that rely on each other.
When we were building this business, having that background and knowing what matters most to the union members is really what we use to drive and build out Retiree First.
Welcome to Pond Lehocky, the largest workers' compensation law firm in Pennsylvania. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. Even better, Pond Lehocky doesn't charge a dime until you win. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Labor and Energy Show on the Jacob Media Network. We've got a fantastic broadcast, as Joe Krause and I talked about. I'm ecstatic to bring in Dave Callahan, President, Marcellus Shale Coalition. Dave, how are you, sir?
Doing great. Great to be with you again. It's been a little while.
It has, and this is a celebratory and an emotional show for me, and we have a lot to talk about here, and we'll get into that. Also, happy to bring in Jim Welty, 2025 president, Marcellus Shale Coalition. Jim, welcome to the first broadcast. Really glad to have you on board, sir.
Great to be here. I got big shoes to fill, but looking forward to continuing the partnership with the trades.
Well, and we're ecstatic about that. And I want to start off by congratulating Dave Callahan on a great career. And thank you for your contributions to your members at the Marcellus Shale Coalition, the natural gas industry, the labor community with all the jobs that you helped create. And the general public, whose countless lives and the quality of life you've impacted through your efforts as the Marcellus Shale Coalition president. And of course, as somebody who joined the Labor and Energy Alliance right at the beginning and helped give it the credibility for everybody to jump in, I can't thank you enough. Dave, you made such an impact. And we wish you nothing but the best retirement possible. And I think you know this, your seat on our board and your impact on all of our programs and, your seat on the broadcast is forever here. So we just want to thank you for everything.
I can't thank you enough. It's been a great partnership. We've done some pretty cool things together. We've had a real impact. And I know that partnership is going to grow even bigger, better, become more effective under Jim's leadership. The combination of labor and energy is absolutely unstoppable.
And I agree with you there. And the synergy has been awesome. But if you will, introduce us, or the Delaware Valley and the East Coast, to Jim Welty, someone you're handed the baton off to.
Well, first of all, let me just say I want Jim to introduce himself after I mangle the introduction. But Jim is no stranger to the organization. He's been employed here for a heck of a long time, almost since the very beginning of the Marcellus Shale Coalition. He's been a staunch advocate for the organization in the government affairs circles and beyond. He has done yeoman's work for the organization, for the industry, and I know he has a deep appreciation for the relationship that we have with the construction trades. And Jim, you can correct me and amplify whatever you found to be helpful.
The microphone is yours, Jim.
Well, Dave is too kind, and Joe, it's just a great opportunity to be here and to have this opportunity to lead this organization and continue the partnership, as I said earlier, with the trades across the Commonwealth. As Dave said, I've been working in the natural gas industry in one way, shape, or form for probably over 15 years now, since the onset of the Marcellus Shale development. Been with the coalition for going on 13 years now, I think it is. So I'm excited about this new opportunity. I'm excited about what natural gas can bring to the Commonwealth and to our American energy security. But it can't be done without the partnership with the building trades across the Commonwealth. So a rising tide lifts all boats. We look forward to seeing that tide continue to rise in the future.
And we can't wait to work together, and we're extremely excited about it. And so, gentlemen, if you will, let's talk about we're going to talk about a couple issues, primarily the situation with the setbacks in Pennsylvania. It's an issue that we've talked about in the past. And, if you will, Dave, I'll defer to you for our listeners. Okay, what are setbacks and what are the purposes of them?
Sure. Setbacks are distances established through law in Pennsylvania and other states between natural gas facilities, primarily natural gas wells, and either man-made or natural features. When Pennsylvania updated its Oil and Gas Act a number of years ago at the onset of the shale revolution here in Pennsylvania, they significantly increased the setbacks, and those setbacks are protective of health and the environment. And it's just one of the many complementary aspects of Pennsylvania's very strict regulatory environment for the natural gas industry. We operate under some of the most stringent regulations in the entire country, and those setbacks are complementary to all those other provisions. Jim probably has a number of other things to share about what they are and how they operate.
Jim,
Yeah, and Dave, I think you nailed it. The one thing when we created the setbacks and updated the Oil and Gas Act back in 2012, Pennsylvania at that time had the most stringent setbacks in the country, and we continue to have the most stringent setbacks in any major natural gas producing state. So, they've served a purpose. We've operated well under them. And setbacks are really just one aspect of the regulatory scheme under which we operate. We operate under dozens of regulatory requirements that are designed to protect the environment and protect the health of the Commonwealth. It's safe to say that some of the strongest regulatory requirements in the world that natural gas operators in Pennsylvania operate under. And setbacks are just one component of that.
And so right now, okay, there's, am I correct in saying, because we talked about it, a while back, legislation to increase the current setbacks, and like you mentioned, PA currently has our setbacks are already the strictest among the top 5 natural gas producing states in the nation. Okay, what is the situation and legislatively, and why is it going on, Dave?
Oh, okay. Well, we face two fronts on this, Joe. We face the legislative front, where there have been numerous attempts to legislate increases to the setbacks upwards of 2,500 feet, 5 times current levels. There's also a regulatory effort underway to petition a rulemaking body, an environmental rulemaking body, to increase setbacks even more. But let's be very clear, Joe, we've talked about this before. This isn't about what number it works. This is about a backdoor ban on the development of natural gas in Pennsylvania. It is closing the door on the jobs, on all the good things that we've worked together for in this Commonwealth. The jobs, the economic activity, the environmental advancement, the ability for royalty owners, people who actually own the gas, to make and sell and develop their own gas as well. Jim.
Sure.
Yeah, it's really, Pennsylvania has become ground zero for those that want to battle against natural gas development. I mean, some of those groups have seen successes in states like New York, New Jersey, Maryland, those surrounding us. Pennsylvania's become ground zero, and they know full well that, as Dave said, increasing setbacks mean banning development. And the petition that's in front of the department and the Environmental Quality Board here in Pennsylvania would essentially just ban development across the entire Commonwealth. We wouldn't be able to produce natural gas under the setbacks that are being proposed, whether it's the legislative setbacks that have been proposed or the petition. Those distances that they're proposing basically sterilize the acreage, as we like to say, and ban it from development.
What is amazing is, and we've talked about this many times, natural gas is largely responsible for lowering emissions. Okay, it's one of the cleanest and efficient forms, okay, of energy that allows us to continue our penetration of emissions across the country and across the world, right? And so when you look at this and you look at the potential hazards in regards to jobs in our way of life here in Pennsylvania, these efforts are incredibly destructive. And who's behind? If you don't, and we can generalize, but who's behind it? And what is the timetable here for us to get on this? Obviously, we can't waste time.
Go right ahead, Jim. I can follow up.
So behind the petition is the Clean Air Council and the Environmental Integrity Project. Clean Air Council is an organization that is foundation funded out of Philadelphia. The Environmental Integrity Project is a huge foundation that is foundation funded out of Washington, D.C. They have incredible amount of resources behind them and have developed this petition to ban development in Pennsylvania and saw this as a backdoor means to do so. So these are just some of the organizations that we find ourselves continuously battling against to ensure that Pennsylvania continues to be a leader of natural gas development, continues to be a leader from economic prosperity, both from the labor perspective as well as to the local communities in which we operate. These are well-funded, well-organized, heavily staffed groups that are designed, and the purpose of this is to shut us down.
It's interesting because obviously a recent presidential election would give people a false security in a lot of senses that just, obviously, Trump as our next president, gives hope nationally to our energy security and independence. But if we recall, just because we have a new president who's going to be a pro-energy president, a lot of the stuff that hit the fan when he was president before, not because of his administration, but because of the individuals you're talking about. Right now, and I'm going to ask both of you, and I'll start with Jim. It's our, opinion that we have to put our foot on the gas even more now. Obviously the inauguration's coming up in January and all this, but this is no time for us to sit back and have a false sense of security. And on a statewide level, obviously, that's important. Talk about that, Jim, and allowing and letting our labor leaders know, and our general public, that we have more work to do now than ever.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Joe. We stand on the precipice of greatness for energy security in America, and I think the incoming administration creates great opportunity for us. We've got plenty of resources under our feet here in Pennsylvania to not only supply Americans with domestic energy, but to create that manufacturing renaissance that we've been working on for the last several years in conjunction with the labor community. And then to provide energy for our allies abroad. Geopolitical instability is certainly the headlines on many of our international trade papers. Pennsylvania and Pennsylvania's natural gas is one of the solutions to those challenges that our allies are meeting. But none of that takes away from the opportunities here domestically. With this incoming administration, we're excited about the opportunities that presented. But you point out rightly that the chorus of antis, as I will call them, is growing louder, in part because of the success of incoming President Trump's call for more natural gas production and more oil production. So they are going to get louder as well, and they're going to get more crafty. We find ourselves in lawfare constantly. They challenge everything we do on the legal front because that becomes a front that they've seen some success. Dave likes to point, for example, to the getting pipe in the ground and creating those pipeline right-of-ways to get gas to market. They've been very successful in tying those pipeline projects up in court, just as one example. And here, the setbacks is yet another example of how they can, kind of manipulate the system and use the system to their means, which, in my opinion, is very anti-American and very anti-energy independence.
Dave, if you will, jump on that.
Well, Jim covered everything so well, but I just want to point out one fact. You did talk about the election. There was exit polling conducted on election day that showed 55% of the voters walking out of the polls that day support the industry. And the wording of that poll wasn't exactly favorable to the industry. I would imagine that the numbers would be even more favorable. And what does that tell you? It tells you that what we bring, the natural gas industry and labor together, reliability, resiliency of energy, whether it's gas supplies themselves or power supply, affordability, abundance, you name it, environmental advancement, jobs. Those are things that cut across political lines. It's not a Republican issue, not a Democratic issue. These are things that Americans want, and they see it in natural gas. And thankfully, for the great constructive relationship that we have together, we're going to keep pushing for it, regardless of who's in the White House, who's in Harrisburg. These are things that we need to keep pushing for.
And you know, we're launching our educational webinar campaign in 2025 to go directly to the labor community and the general public, to engage them in our almost like a master class on different industries in our traditional energy sector. And so educating the people, and by the way, I think we all know this, especially when with the polling, okay, with EV mandates, and okay, with natural gas, okay, people, you know, are getting more educated, okay, and we're giving them a leg to stand on at that dinner table, which is so important. Having said that, what can we do? What is the call to action here, guys, when it comes to you know, the setback situation? What are timetables, and what are we asking our labor community and our general public to do, you know, to prevent this situation that will devastate the general public also?
There are many ways that we could work together on this. You already mentioned the various efforts that you have underway and various ways that you can reach out to labor leaders and others. We also have a mechanism that's complementary to that. We have something called the United Shale Advocates. That's our grassroots advocacy arm. Folks can Google the Marcellus Shale Coalition. They could get on our website, sign up for USA. There will be opportunities there to talk about things like increased setbacks and telling government officials at the state level and beyond, no, this is not right for Pennsylvania. We do not support a ban on development. We support this industry and what it means for putting food on the table in my family and making a more secure energy future for not just America, but for our allies and trading partners abroad. It's a great way for us to continue to work together.
Absolutely. And Jim and Dave, any pending legislation, you know, in the works? We had the House bill for, you know, a while ago. Where are we with the legislative efforts?
So we've got the end of the legislative session has just wrapped up, beginning of December. We're looking at a new legislature coming in January. We fully expect legislation to be introduced probably within the first few weeks that would establish setbacks. Probably the setbacks that equal the legislation that's been introduced in the past, and probably some that mirror what's being proposed via the petition, which are even, you know, stronger setbacks. You know, to Dave's point, I think what we need is you need to make your voice heard. You need to make your voice heard with elected officials, with the regulatory agencies, and with the administration. That you know, you support, you know, continued opportunities that are presented by natural gas development, and that by increasing the, you know, setbacks, and any proposal that increases setbacks would be a detriment to that. And just the mere fact that we have to have this conversation sends chilling message to those that want to invest in Pennsylvania. You know, we need leaders to speak up and to voice their concerns. So, you know, encourage your leaders when you reach out to speak up on behalf of the industry and speak up on behalf of the labor community that is directly impacted by, you know, these negative proposals that would ban development.
Well, we'll definitely have our action alerts out, number one. Okay. And we, you know, educating Dave, I remember the first time we talked about this, the backdoor way of shutting our energy projects down. Joe and Steppy talk. I mean, we've had this conversation emotionally on our board member Zooms. Okay. What's crazy about it, and this show, I mean, this is for, you know, not only our labor community, but our general public. You hear setbacks, you have absolutely no idea what this is. You've created, I'm talking about as a member of the general public, when you said the backdoor way of shutting, you know, our energy projects down, obviously our natural gas projects, including wells that are existing, that are not used, would not be grandfathered in, okay, which are the general public. People like me would have no idea what that until all of a sudden it happens. And how did it happen? And so obviously we're going to be a voice for that. We got about a minute left. What we're going to do when we come back from the break is talk a little bit of LNG, liquid natural gas. You know, the conversation that we had a year ago on this issue. You know, the period is over. And so let's do this. Let's take a Let's take a quick break. We'll have more from the Labor and Energy Show with Dave Callahan and Jim Welty when we come right back.
The best way to describe Anthony, David, and Jan are that they're my brothers. I met Anthony at LA Fitness because I noticed that he had a Teamster's bag and his dad was a Teamster leader.
I'm a third generation son of labor. My grandmother worked in a factory. My mother and father were both Teamster members. I don't think there's a trade that I don't have a family member in.
What's so big for me coming from a union background is what affects one member affects the entire membership.
A lot of people can relate to the issues that individuals deal with. We pride ourselves on empathy.
The big value that's always instilled in you if you grow up in a union household is the importance of brotherhood. People that lean on each other, that rely on each other.
When we were building this business, having that background and knowing what matters most to the union members is really what we use to drive and build out Retiree First.
Welcome to Pond Lehocky, the largest workers' compensation law firm in Pennsylvania. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. Even better, Pond Lehocky doesn't charge a dime until you win. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, around the East Coast, the Delaware Valley, we got a little surprise here, okay? We did not tell Dave Callahan that we were having a little bit of a party for him and a welcoming party for Jim. I'm ecstatic to bring into the program John Bain, Rob Baer, Sean Steffi. We're also going to have Ed Broadbent coming in. This is a... it's emotional, but it's also a celebration. And so I wanted to have some of your friends and some of the individuals on our committee come on and a little well wish for you. Your good friend John Bain. I'm going to have him. By the way, Rob Baer has never looked better, as you can see here on the screen. But guys, welcome to the broadcast. We are going to talk a little business towards the end, but I want to start off by bringing John Bain in. And John, a couple words about your great friend, Dave Callahan.
Well, I'm going to start off.
Camera's going to go out.
I'll tell some lies first.
Please do.
No, Dave, it was great working with you. I don't know if everybody knows, but I was chairman of the coalition for 2 years while Dave was the president. And sort of like the Godfather, I would say Dave was a wartime president. Yeah, we couldn't have asked for a better leader at that time. I heard you talking about LNG and setbacks, and it was just one thing after another. And Dave, not only on a personal level, but professionally, I mean, like I said, it was great working with you. And, I'm pretty jealous that at the end of this year, you won't be on camera anymore.
Security cameras, maybe, but yeah.
No.
Rob Baer, if you will.
Well, I just can't say enough about everything Dave's done for his advocacy group, and it's been such a pleasure working with him. We're in Harrisburg together all the time. We've worked on so many important issues for the membership, for our members, for his members. And, over the last couple of years, we've even built some coalitions of people you would have never thought come to the table. And that was due to Dave's leadership. When you can have labor, some of the environmental community and the industry and the business to sit down together and craft legislation that actually works, that's a testament to true leadership, and that's going to be missed. And I'm like John, I'm a little jealous. Dave's going to be retiring, and John and I are going to be slogging out here another 5, 6, 7, 8, God knows how many years, But I just want to say, Dave, it's been a pleasure working with you.
And by the way, Dave he made the gargantuan mistake of giving me his cell phone number. So he's, the little scroll underneath where it says Marcellus Shale President may be different, but we're going to have access to Big Dave obviously in the future. Sean Steffi, if you will, sir.
Dave, I can't say enough of what, you've done for us and bringing us together as labor and the industry. And I think not only in the beginning did we, maybe not see eye to eye as a whole, but now we've educated each other and know that we need to advocate together, stay together to get the things done that we need to get done in the future. And you are going to be missed, but I do believe Jim is a good guy to move forward with us here. And I think the sky's the limit for us. And like I've said before, I think the pendulum's swinging our way right now. And, the sky's the limit. And congratulations to you, Dave. And, look forward to working with Jim in the future.
Thank you. JDoc, you're a son of a gun for doing this, but thank you.
Yeah, it's
I can't ask for better partners than you guys. I know there's another person that was going to join us. Ken Broadbent's another great partner as well. We've all walked arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder, working on a lot of tough issues. And that's going to continue tenfold under Jim's leadership and his engagement with all of you. He and I share a deep appreciation for the quality work that you guys do, the safe work that you do, the on-time work that you do, and the great things that we can get done in advocacy circles with industry partners like Mr. Bain.
And by the way, Ken Broadbent is he's driving and trying to join the show. So he's having technical issues there, but he's doing the best he can. I will say, Sean, first of all, your words, especially about Jim, I'm a little skeptical there. You just go to the same barber. So maybe there's some synergy there. But I don't think.
Don't forget Rob's at the same barber too.
I don't think.
Rob always has a Kangol on for that very reason.
And no question. Let's Jim, if you would, let's. Obviously we're never going to say we're saying goodbye to Dave because he's always. But the fact is, we're also saying hello to you and welcoming you onto the board and obviously to the broadcast and all. Your sentiments, obviously, with your in your new role.
Yeah, let me first say this, Joe. We had the opportunity last week at our membership meeting to say some good words about Dave, and we laughed a little, we cried a little. And the one quote that sticks out to me that I used with Dave is a Joe DiMaggio quote, and that is, "A person always doing his or her best becomes a natural leader just by example." And Dave's been a great leader because he's done his best. He's a great example to kind of follow. As I said at the beginning of the broadcast here, huge shoes to follow or to fill, and I recognize that. But one of my goals as president going into 2025 is to continue to build on the relationship that we have with the building trades in Pennsylvania. It's been a passion of mine probably for the last 10 years, going back to Dave Spiegelmeyer. Dave Callahan effectively carried that on and look forward to continuing to do that because as Sean said last week at our membership meeting, we have great things ahead of us. We've got strike while the iron's hot, and the iron is hot right now. So let's work together to see great things for natural gas development, for the building trades and the work that comes with it. The sky's the limit right now, and we just need to continue to work with one voice and collaborate collectively.
And so having said that, and it's awesome to have everybody on it here at the same time, and obviously to celebrate Dave and obviously welcome Jim, but I want to bring John, Rob, and Sean into this setback conversation. We're all obviously heavily aware of it, but here it is rearing its ugly head again, and like Jim had said, it looks like obviously in the beginning of the next session, we're probably going to have legislating hitting the fan, and we have lots to do. And Dave Callahan had said it, and we've all discussed it. Okay, this is a backdoor way to shut us down. And Sean, you have, from the top of the highest mountain, you as well, Rob and John. Let's talk about this and to our members and talk about, elaborate a little bit on, this backdoor way to shut us down and tell people what it is. okay, our listeners and your members. Rob, if you would first.
Look, the setback regulation legislation they introduced last time, it died for a very good reason. It wasn't a well thought out piece of legislation, and it was no secret that I was making my rounds on that hill opposing it. Now, we're not ever going to say we want to do anything unsafe, but we're not going to shut down one of the most lucrative industries in Pennsylvania that is going to be the linchpin for economic and workforce development in the state of Pennsylvania and the whole East Coast. Pardon me, I know we're being recorded. At the end of the day, if you want to talk about setback regulations, look at Texas, look at Oklahoma, look at some of the states that did fracking early on, and then look at what our current setback regulations are. We have the toughest in the country, period. And we're not going to sit back and let a piece of legislation go that's effectively going to end our industry. This is just not going to happen. And anybody that knows me knows it doesn't take me long to make my rounds up there and say, no, we're not going to support this. We want to see the natural gas industry grow. If we want to talk about AI and you want to talk about data centers, let me tell you something. Fracking and Pennsylvania gas is going to be at the forefront of this conversation. If you want to talk about world stability, the Marcellus Shale Coalition and Pennsylvania gas is going to be at the forefront of this conversation. Do I hope that the moratorium on LNG exports that's in place goes away? Absolutely, I do. Do I want to build an LNG export facility here in Pennsylvania? Absolutely, I do. Do I want to build a Jones Act ship so that Pennsylvania controls the natural gas distribution up and down the East Coast from Florida to Maine? Absolutely, I do. And you know what that does? That props up us for workforce development, economic development. It increases the tax base in Pennsylvania. It puts people to work in construction, in permanent jobs. And if we're really serious about fixing the problems, the first part in fixing a problem is acknowledging we have one. And the problem we have is we don't have a way to get our gas out of Pennsylvania. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And with the makeup we come back with, 102, 101, 28, 22, do I think any type of unsensible legislation has any chance of getting done? No. No, I don't. I know Dave and Jim and I fought this, and John was right there with us, Sean, and it's going to happen again. And look, everybody's always going to introduce really bad legislation to try and backdoor us to shut it down. Our job is to make sure that doesn't happen. That's it in a nutshell. And we are on the cusp of finally the American people realizing that labor, the environment, business and industry don't have to be mutually exclusive of each other. You're not going to develop this country without fossil fuels for the next 10 to 15 years. It's not possible. I got to have combined cycle cogen fire generation. I need John Bain and his company transporting this product all over the place for me so that it's usable. And the first part in this is getting the gas out of the ground. And we do it, and we do it well. Dave and Jim's coalition does it better than anybody else in the country. And we're going to continue to expand on that.
John Bain, if you will, jump in there. And then Sean.
Yeah, on the setback issue, I know you guys were talking about it earlier, so I don't have to get into explaining what it is. But, 30,000 foot increases the area from which we can drill a well to an occupied structure. That's basically the gist of it. We had our GIS team just run the maps, looking at our acreage and how these policies, both House Bill 170 from last session and the petition that came out, how that would impact our operations. And with confidence, I can tell you that it would sterilize, and I'll start at the low number, at least 90% of our developable acreage. So it's, as Rob said, it's a backdoor ban. It will shut down the industry. This is one of those where, you go to the Capitol with your hair on fire on an issue. Sometimes you can work out an agreement with the other party. This is one that is just a non-starter. We cannot go down this road.
That's right.
It's a killer. We've said in the past, well, we can just go drill somewhere else. we can't afford to shut down drilling in Pennsylvania. I mean, we're number 2 in the country. It's the number 1 basin in the country. It's just it's a dangerous policy. And if it were to happen, God forbid, once people's lights start going out, I think that policy would be backtracked pretty quickly.
Sean Seppi?
Yeah, I mean, the guys really covered it, but at the end of the day, it's something that definitely is not going to work. And we know that, and the data shows it. And the industry that Dave and Jim are in have never been more transparent than where they are for the environment and doing it the right way. And labor has been on board. We want to do the same thing and work with them. And this setback is a non-starter. It's the end of the road. And I'm with Rob. It's not going to happen. We're not going to let it happen. Between the MSC and labor, we're at the forefront of it. And I think that moving forward, we just got to keep advocating and educating, and we got to show what economic dominance that we can provide through natural gas and the energy that we can produce for things that are the technology in the future, and just stay in the fight. And I think that we're going to get it. It's not going to happen.
Okay, guys, we got about 5 minutes left. Dave brought this issue up. Obviously, the Department of Energy just released a study on LNG exports and opened up a 60-day comment period. Obviously, we all know about the export permits that have been frozen for nearly a year. Let's touch on this. Dave, you want to elaborate there, and then I'll jump in?
Sure. I believe Mr. Bain and I previously spoke on your program about this at the beginning of the year. The Biden administration put a freeze on pending LNG export, liquefied natural gas export permits, beginning of January, something that was called out by organizations and news media outlets like Bloomberg News, Washington Post as being purely political. They released a report, and to your point, Joe, they subjected that report to a 60-day public comment period. That report didn't reach any conclusions. But the letter that accompanied it, the wording of the report, it's highly politically charged words and trying to set the stage for others to oppose LNG permits when the incoming administration will then start allowing these permits to continue. That's a long-winded way of saying we need these permits to go forward. The world needs energy. The world needs reliable energy. It needs clean energy. Nobody makes natural gas as clean as America does. And in the United States, this is the cleanest basin of them all. Countries are going to export or import energy from other countries. Do you want them to get it from countries that do it in an inferior fashion, or from the cleanest areas and the best areas in the world, which is in the United States, and in particular, this basin?
Rob Barrett?
I said it. We want to build it. Like, we have more gas under our feet than anywhere in the United States, second largest in the world. Dave said it. It's clean gas. We could provide all the gas the New England states need. We could provide all the gas that Eastern Europe needs. We're deliberately locking ourselves out of a market legislatively that's ridiculous. And the amount of jobs and the amount of economic development and workforce development that comes from LNG exports is immeasurable in Pennsylvania. It puts us at the forefront of energy exports. Keep in mind, Pennsylvania is the #1 electrical generation exporter in the United States of America. Well, as I tell the governor all the time, he's competitive and so am I. I want to be the #1 exporter of not just electricity, but also of LNG, right? I want, when people talk about energy, you know what I tell them? I want them to look at us as a solution to the problems. You got an energy problem? Call us. We'll fix it.
So
bottom line.
We got a couple minutes left. I'm going to go around the horn. Sean, any want to jump on that?
I just want to reiterate what Rob said. Let's build out the LNG export. Let's build the pipelines. And like Rob said, let's build new tankers to ship it. As you know, Boilermakers are shipbuilders too. It helps everybody. And I don't know when, but when's the last time we built a new LNG tanker in America? It's
never.
Time. The time is right now, and let's get it moving. And this is what we have to do, not only for Pennsylvania, but for the country and the world, like Rob said.
Awesome. Guys, we got about a minute and a half left. We're going to go around around the horn. Parting words, Rob?
Well, I just want to say again to Dave, congratulations for a long, healthy, happy retirement. Jim, I look forward to working with you guys. John Bain, same thing. I know I'm going to see you around all the time. You're right up the street from me. So have a cold Budweiser ready come start of the new year because I'm going to need it. Sean Steffi, my brother from another mother. I know you're always there when I need you. Joe, I want to thank you and Krause for everything you do. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. And I'm going to let everybody know over the next couple of days, I'm probably going to get thundered out of my gourd a couple times. That's part of the holiday season too.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. Right back at you. John Bain?
Yeah, well, I just want to thank everybody on the call. I mean, we all have a great relationship. I know we don't have a lot of time, but you guys have all done a great job. I love the partnership that we've built. Dave Callahan, we're going to miss you like hell. And I don't think I think we'll be reaching out to you for help going forward. But I know one thing, Jim Welty is certainly ready to step in and lead the organization. Jim has been with the MSC for quite a long time, knows the ins and outs. And I just look forward to working with you, Jim, and with everybody on the show today. And have a great holiday.
Thank you, John. Right back at you, Jim Welty.
Looking forward to the opportunities to 2025 and beyond, and the great partnership that we have with the building trades. Let's get it done and let's make it happen.
Awesome. And I'm going to leave our final words of wisdom to our good friend Dave Callahan, if you will, sir.
It's a lot of pressure. I just, for the umpteenth time, thank you. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for the great work that the trades do. Thank you for the great partnership. And like Jim, like all of you, I'm really optimistic on the future in terms of what we're going to do for our country, for our region, for the world.
Fantastic. And we appreciate those. I'm surprised, guys. And by the way, this could end the coalition and the alliance. I'm surprised nobody said go Birds.
Hey,
I was ready.
I was like, oh, after the game, I was thinking they're all going to cancel the meeting. Guys,
I brought my hat, Joe. JDoc.
That away. Thank you, John. A little bit of alliance here, guys. I love you all. I want to thank everybody for being on the program today on this very special broadcast. Dave Callahan, happy retirement. Jim Welty, we're ready to rock and roll. John Bain, Rob Bear, Sean Stubby, and Ken Broadbent, who is he's still trying to get on the. We'll let him know we shouted him out. Guys, thanks so much. Happy holidays, happy New Year. We'll have more from the Labor and Energy Show in just a minute.
The best way to describe Anthony, David, and Jan are that they're my brothers. I met Anthony at LA Fitness because I noticed that he had a Teamster's bag and his dad was a Teamster leader.
I'm a third generation son of labor. My grandmother worked in a factory. My mother and father were both Teamster members. I don't think there's a trade that I don't have a family member in.
What's so big for me coming from a union background is what affects one member affects the entire membership.
A lot of people can relate to the issues that individuals deal with. We pride ourselves on empathy.
The big value that's always instilled in you if you grow up in a union household is the importance of brotherhood. People that lean on each other, that rely on each other.
When we were building this business, having that background and knowing what matters most to the union members is really what we use to drive and build out Retiree First.
Welcome to Pond Lehocky, the largest workers' compensation law firm in Pennsylvania. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. Even better, Pond Lehocky doesn't charge a dime until you win. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
There we go, back here on the Labor and Energy Show. JDoc, only about 45 seconds left on the program. Boy, did I want to join that program and send a big cheer out to Dave Callahan, but well done by you and just a great segment.
Yeah, Joe, thanks so much. And you guys, by the way, Joe, I think you heard the Happy New Year's to Krause. And yeah, I mean, what a great show. I'm thankful for everybody for coming on to the broadcast and having such a festive but important conversation. So
Yes.
on behalf of all the guys, congratulations and a happy retirement to Dave Callahan. Remember the setback issue. Obviously, the LNG pause is up, and so we're in the middle of a lot of really important things. 2025 is important. It'll be important for the Labor and Energy Alliance and Labor and Energy broadcast and show. And of course, welcome Jim Welty, who's going to do a great job. So I hope all the listeners are fired up about what's going on in regards to 2025. It's never been more important. We got to put the pedal to the metal and not let up. So lots going on, Joe, but a great broadcast.
That's going to do it for this edition of the Labor and Energy Show with JDoc and Krause. Again, a big salute and a big cheer to Dave Callahan and to all of our guests today. And I want to thank all of our listeners who have tuned in with us religiously. Our audience continues to grow. Download any episode from our library by going to Apple or Spotify and search the Labor and Energy Show. That's going to do it for this broadcast here in the month of December in 2024. Until next time, happy holidays, everyone.
The best way to describe Anthony, David, and Jan that they're my brothers. I met Anthony at LA Fitness because I noticed that he had a Teamster's bag and his dad was a Teamster leader.
I'm a third generation son of labor. My grandmother worked in a factory. My mother and father were both Teamster members. I don't think there's a trade that I don't have a family member in.
What's so big for me coming from a union background is what affects one member affects the entire membership.
A lot of people can relate to the issues that individuals deal with. We pride ourselves on empathy.
The big value that's always instilled in you if you grow up in a union household is the importance of brotherhood. People that lean on each other, that rely on each other.
When we were building this business, having that background and knowing what matters most to the union members is really what we use to drive and build out Retiree First.
Welcome to Pond Lehocky, the largest workers' compensation law firm in Pennsylvania. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. Even better, Pond Lehocky doesn't charge a dime until you win. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.